Whenever you think of Thomas and Friends, a villain character probably isn't the first thing you think of. To many people, that statement may even sound crazy. A kid's show with a villain, let alone Thomas, how would that even work? Well, ultimately, there's plenty examples of this, from the trucks to, of course, the diesel engines, but one in specific hits my mind before anything when talking about the latter half. Sydney. No, jokes aside, we've talked plenty before on this channel about why I think Diesel Tin is the perfect villain, or at least embodiment of villainry in Thomas and Friends. He's the big, yellow, hazard-striped, evil-faced Diesel with a giant metal claw and maniacal laugh. What more do you need? Nothing about that really screams good guy, and for good reason. As interesting as Diesel Tin is, though, he is pretty confusing. We're told in Magic Railroad he was once on Sodor. We see him fall off a viaduct and onto a barge. Eventually, he's brought back to Sodor. It's sadly not the easiest thing to keep up with. And today I thought it'd be fun to make a full timeline of what we know about Diesel Tin, aside from the evil Diesel tried to kill lady obvious shtick. So long intros aside, let's go ahead and jump into it. So Diesel Tin is a BR Class 42 warship, albeit modified, but we don't know exactly when. It's assumed he was built sometime between 1958 and 1961, like the others of his class. And as we can see, at some point he's given Pinchy and other potential modifications we can't really see. This is presumed to be done by P.T. Boomer, but with his part being ultimately cut from Thomas and the Magic Railroad, we won't be focusing too much on him. Thomas and the Magic Railroad came out in 2000, but we know the movie takes place in 1999. This due to the real-life scenes involving Lily, and the hints to her age being the same as Mara Wilson's. From this, we can draw a somewhat loose but seeable timeline. The accident that happened many years ago likely happening shortly after the build process. I'd assume in the early to mid-60s. This also could line up with a younger Burnett Stone, who as Lily's grandfather protected Lady and could have had to deal with this situation firsthand. That's my idea for a general time at least. Now let's get into a overarching story. Now as I said before, Diesel Tin was around pre-Magic Railroad, and of course in this visit to Sodor attempted to kill Lady the first time. Lady is derailed, severely damaged, and hidden away after such, but he ultimately fails in the plot. Flash forward to 1999, he's back and trying this all again. Once again trying to destroy all the steam engines. He basically causes lots of smaller events to happen, gets into mini quarrels with other engines, but in the end, however, he is defeated by Thomas, Lady, and plot devices, falling off a viaduct and into a barge, where he's then shipped to God knows where. That's the long and short of Magic Railroad. But as we know, that is not the last time we see Diesel Tin. Now we move to Calling All Engines, which released in 2005. This movie saw the reintroduction of the evil Diesel in a, well, not so evil way. Off-screen, at some point, Topham decided to give Diesel a second chance, giving him a large part at the scrapyards. Basically, he just scares Thomas and Percy. Thomas is too scared to talk to him after their previous encounters. But after a water tower collapses and Thomas is left with no other choice, he kinda just has to man up and ask Diesel Tin for help, which surprisingly goes very well. Of course, there's some slight hesitation between the both of them, but Diesel Tin agrees and gets the job done. We don't know much about what happens after this directly, but we can assume Diesel Tin is made a permanent part of the railway. After this, he wouldn't take up many roles, since that's just not the direction Thomas and Friends was trying to go. Though we would see him at least one more time, and this is sorta how we know this. For example, we have the Great Discovery. In a small scene where Thomas is missing, Diesel Tin is amongst the Diesels conversing about the disappearance. We're never told what he's saying specifically, but the entire portion of this movie is dedicated to the engines being worried about their friend. In this, we're shown Diesel Tin, and there's a part of me that likes to think even he was a little bit worried about that blue puffball. So, is that it? Is that the full Diesel Tin timeline? A villain turned softy after some blue engine friendliness? Well, in the model series, at least. Day of the Diesels. I don't hate this movie, and I don't want it to come across like I do. It's definitely not the worst Thomas movie ever made, but it is just slightly annoying, especially in the overall timeline we're trying to lay out. So Percy and Thomas aren't doing so well as friends in this movie, and seeing an open opportunity, Diesel Tin goes back on all of that character development we just talked about. to manipulate Percy so the Diesels can ultimately take over the Steamworks. What? I've always said Diesel Tin works so much better as a villain, and I'm not trying to go back on that now, but I'm also a fan of character development, and this movie just seemed to forget about the large bit Diesel already had. Personal pettiness aside though, of course the plan is foiled. Thomas is almost killed in a fire, and most annoyingly of all, this all comes to a head with a stern talking to from Sir Topham Hatt. Yeah, Diesel, you didn't just lead a crusade and take over a piece of land. Don't let a single, oh no, stop you now, oh god. And that's sorta where we end off, but not really. Nothing very substantial happens with Diesel Tin after this point, but we do see some doubling down on the anti-struggling hero, which ultimately I did enjoy. Come Christmas time, Diesel Tin is jealous at the decorations the steam engines have, and he decides to steal them for the Diesel Works. Let's be real, it's a rude and shitty act for sure, but I can't help but get the feeling that it's more than that to Diesel. To him, it's a fairness thing. And to see Diesel Tin, of all characters, be the one to take charge and try to do more for his Diesel counterparts, I mean, I personally really enjoyed that. Now, in the end, it turns out Diesel never had to do any of that anyway, and Sir Topham Hatt actually got the Diesel Works their very own ornaments. So, in the end, in a very Grinch-like tale, he returns the old ornaments to the Steam team. And sadly, overall, not really doing as much as he probably wished he did. But definitely growing in the process. He doesn't have to feel that way anymore. And while I love the evil and mean Diesel, it really was good to see that humble side the hit era tried to make come back out, even if just for a little bit. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the story and timeline of Diesel Tin. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for even more Train content. And on the chance there's any other characters I should talk about in this format, be sure to let me know in the comments. Like I said before, I know I've talked about Diesel Tin plenty of times, but I don't think I've seen a video that lays out the entire timeline of Diesel Tin, so I kinda just wanted to try that out. And if you guys would like one on, say, Diesel, or Thomas, or any other character, be sure to let me know. And I'd love to give it a shot, since this was honestly a blast to make. But all of that aside, thanks again for watching, everybody. As always, huge shout out to my patrons for making videos like this possible. And with all of that being said, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.